Hello everyone, my name is Cosmify, and as promised by Glitch Productions a few weeks ago on their Twitter and YouTube, yesterday, July 25th at 6:51 p.m. at the 33rd second at the 33rd millisecond at San Diego Comic-Con, a sneak peek for episode 6 of the Amazing Digital Circus was shown. And it wasn't 10 seconds or 30 seconds, it was actually an entire minute, which definitely surprised me to say the least. And so today, I'm going to be taking the minute that we were given and doing my best to analyze it, how the characters are acting, and what might happen in the episode. So first of all, we unfortunately don't have a full screen version, only this version that was recorded on someone's phone. I'm not sure if they were allowed to do that, but it's kind of too late now considering that it's been seen by tens of thousands of people and growing. But anyway, I'm gonna play it in its entirety so it makes more sense for you guys. Skip to here if you want to get straight to the analysis part.
Oh yeah, how teamwork is essential to making the dream work.
Tell that to him. He's the one that f***s everything all the time.
You are in a mood today, aren't you?
Now, you know what they say about assuming. It makes an ass out of you and Ming.
Just say ass.
Hi, I'm Ming, and I really don't appreciate what your assumptions have done to my reputation.
You made a whole guy for that?
Whatever the case, it's evident now that there's quite a bit of tension between you all. So maybe what we actually need to do are trust exercises.
I am not falling into Jax's arms, if that's what you mean.
Don't worry, this will be a two-way trust exercise, where you'll each have to trust each other to not betray the other person. This is a private room where nobody can see or hear you once inside. And this is a loaded gun.
Okay, so here's some things that we can tell right off the bat. Number one, all of the characters are present. I know this doesn't mean too much considering that it seems to be towards the beginning of the episode based both on the music in the background and the fact that Kane is explaining their adventure, which by the way is an in-house adventure. Zooble dislikes those even more than regular adventures, as you might remember from the pilot. Either that or they were just being whiny. So that could be part of the reason why they're already a bit irritated even though the episode just started. But the fact that Ragatha specifically out of all of them is here lets me breathe a slight sigh of relief, as I know that they're not going to run into some kind of a Kaufmo situation where she abstracted off screen or something before the episode even starts. Another very small but notable detail about this group shot right here is the fact that Pomni seems to be standing close to Ragatha rather than Jax, which might imply that Jax's attempt to get close to her in episode 5 wasn't effective enough for her to completely distance herself from Ragatha like Jax might have wanted. Little side note, but I definitely think Jax kind of wants Pomni away from Ragatha based on the bar scene in episode 5 where he kind of antagonizes Ragatha for not having connected with Pomni as much as him. Now, I can't exactly read her facial expression here, but her body language doesn't necessarily seem hostile or saddened. However, that could definitely change within the episode. Oh, and speaking of the episode, it's probably going to be some kind of Russian roulette situation, which is just hilarious. As Kane explained, they're being put in a private room where no one can see or hear them. Maybe we're going to get some kind of interesting conversation between some of them because they know that they're alone, or they think that they're alone. And there's also going to be a loaded gun involved. What could possibly go wrong? Now, this actually lines up with this Tumblr post that Gooseworks made a while back where she described every episode in one word, and the word that she used for this one was guns, so that checks out. But anyway, something else I noticed about how they're acting is the fact that Zooble definitely seems a lot more fired up than usual, which seems to be mostly because of Jax. I know I said earlier that the in-house adventure could be part of it, and that is true, but what I will say is that it was definitely surprising seeing her get that mad. If anything, I expected the moody one during this episode to be Ragatha, but like I said, that could definitely change. We don't really know yet. As for some other random things I noticed, Gangle's comedy mask already seems to be broken, Kinger's just being Kinger and kind of separating from everyone, and Jax definitely seems a little more hyper and creepy looking than usual. Why are his pupils so small? It could be nothing though, I'm not really sure. Oh, also, during the minute-long runtime, a theory of mine was actually somewhat disproven, which is the theory that this line was gonna be used to explain who this mannequin NPC was that we saw at the end of episode 5. In case you didn't know already, someone asked Gooseworks on Tumblr for a random line from episode 6, and she gave this line, which made me think that it was referencing the mannequin and was gonna explain how Kane created him to spy on the members of the circus, but I guess that's not the case. There's a slight chance that we might see the mannequin again during this episode. Their name is Dr. Football, by the way, not Disappearing Guy like some people believe, but of course that's up to speculation. Now, as for the fact that they're being put in a room, presumably in groups of 2 at a time with a loaded gun where, once again, I'm assuming they have to trust one another not to shoot the other person or something like that. I'm definitely starting to see how episode 5 was the silly before the storm, as Gooseworks said. The general mood here definitely seems to be kind of happy, but of course that could definitely change throughout the episode. Things have a way of just going from 0 to 100 in this show really quickly, but I'm also not sure whether or not they're gonna all end up paired together, or if the loose pairs that we see them in during this group shot are going to be the person they're paired with for the entire episode. That sentence made no sense, I'm sorry. But anyway, back to the characters. Another thing I noticed was that Ragatha locked eyes with Pomni after Kane said the words loaded gun, so I honestly have no idea how that could go either, but once again, Ragatha didn't really seem angry or anything, so it might be fine, hopefully. Ragatha, please don't shoot Pomni. However, this episode is definitely going to be more of a Jax episode than episode 5 was. I said episode way too many times just now. And we know that based on this Twitter post right here, where Gooseworks was trying to kind of alleviate our concerns about whether or not characters were going to be sidelined by giving them the spotlight episodes, and we know that episode 6 is kind of going to be Jax's episode, but a little bit of Ragatha's as well based on this Tumblr post. However, because this episode is going to be more Jax focused, I definitely think that there's some potential that we could see a flashback as to how Jax may have caused Ribbit to abstract, which is another theory that you may have seen floating around. As you may recall, Gooseworks once said, again on Tumblr, I know I keep bringing up the Tumblr, that we would get to see the worst thing Jax has done with our very own eyes, and I honestly think this could be the episode where we see it. If so, then it's either going to involve him maybe shooting someone, or we're going to get to see a flashback of how he could have caused Ribbit to abstract. I think the second one is more likely because we've already kind of seen him shoot Gangle and eat Gangle. We don't talk about that, but I think him causing Ribbit to abstract could be a potential reason as to why he became so closed off afterwards, and why he now insists that everyone takes things too seriously. He doesn't want people to take things seriously like Ribbit did, because he doesn't want them to abstract by thinking about their predicament too hard. Anyway, honorable mentions for other things I noticed. Kane swore, most obvious one, which I definitely think does open up a conversation about how Kane can just bypass his own safeguards, or seems to be getting darker and less kid-friendly as time goes on, first with his adventures and now with his language. But I definitely think this could go somewhat hand in hand with the fact that in episode 4 with the stupid sauce and in episode 5 with Jax's veganism, Kane showed an ability to be able to control their minds, even though in the pilot he told Pomni he couldn't do that. Similarly, in the pilot he also said that swearing wasn't allowed, and yet here he is just saying one like it's nothing. Now this could obviously just be a joke that Gooseworks made, not really caring about the lore or anything, but part of it does kind of make me think that Kane is just once again superseding his own rules, whether intentionally or not. I don't think he has bad intentions, but it does look a little shady. But I will say, I will give it to Kane that he did definitely try to make a good joke with the whole assuming thing. Maybe he's trying to connect with them a little bit more because there's a lot of tension between them right now. And also, he doesn't really seem as angry with Zubul as he was at the beginning of episode 5. Oh, also random, but the fact that Bubble is really struggling to hold up the camera, I just found that so funny. And there's probably a lot more stuff here, so if you noticed anything I didn't, then put it in the comments, please. I put a link to the full thing completely unedited in the description. Full credit to the guy who originally uploaded it. You're a legend. If you were allowed to do that. If not, then that's a very bad thing you did. Don't do that. And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more. And yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep now.